Good afternoon, everybody. Microphone check. Screen check. Yeah, looks like everything's working correctly here. Good, good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the afternoon market recap and offering overview. Over the next 30 to 60 minutes or so, we're going to be covering what took place today and the trade setups that presented themselves per the rules outlined in the Day Trading Academy and VIP plans. I'm going to talk about every setup that presented itself today, but remember, not all patterns and setups are created equal. The ones that I'm going to be covering here don't use common sense as a filter at all. All of that fun stuff, going long in a massive downtrend, is totally viable, and those will get counted. So you get the picture. The idea is to ensure total fairness in the pattern and setup reviews, so there's no cherry picking. Don't forget, before we kick this off, smash the like button, let the YouTube algorithms know what's up, and also make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of the new videos and content and live streams and everything else coming out. You don't want to miss all of that fun stuff. If you want to hang out with me and the rest of the VIPs for the entire US morning session, you can register for a 1-week trial for our private live VIP trade room to see how we trade the markets in real time while they're moving during the New York Stock Exchange open from 9 to around lunchtime. Plus, when you register for a trial, excuse me, you also get our 24-page guide on risk reward, along with the access to schedule a 30-minute phone call with me. And you can set up a time with that so we can talk about any questions or anything else you've got going on. Best part is totally free, no credit card required to register or anything like that, so make sure to get on the calendar sooner than later, rather. If you have any questions about what it is that we have to offer, what we have available for you, or anything in between, a trade review or a trade setup that you took you want me to look at for you. We do a Q&A time after the charts while we're looking at some S&P scalps and all of that, so we'll definitely get you covered there. But with that all out of the way, let's take a look at what happened today on our old buddy, the NASDAQ, and see what's going on. Get that out of the way. Let me pop this up in the corner. All right. So as far as the day is concerned, first off, when we're looking at the bigger perspective, this thing is bananas. It's getting absolutely railed to the downside. Huge amount of sell volume coming in, big sell pressure, I mean, the bulls are getting absolutely blown out of the water. Back before, we were talking about this morning with YouTube members, there's a massive POC that got left behind down here, assumably the shorts trying to get something going, and they got ran over. On the way up, while they're getting ran over and the tires bouncing over their head here, this is them averaging up and drawing their position higher. The objective is for it to cycle back down and grab that target. Well, they made it. I can't believe it, but they made it. Huge rotation all the way to the downside. Max greed targets, if the market does just completely fall apart, then we've got downside objectives that would be all the way possibly down to 13,700. Big, big rotation. We'll have to wait and see what they want to do here, but I mean, this is some serious movement. On the 15-minute chart, we've got some really nice bearish momentum, measured moves all over the place, great momentum all around, really. But looking at what actually took place today, we can see that the market started off the day a little bit sideways. We had a bit of back and forth action right out of the gates. The 9:30 open in reference was right here. So when the open hit, it jumped up to the highs, then jumped down to the lows, started transitioning their phase back in who actually had control. Bulls tried, they tried and failed, and then rolled over to a new low drive down. Beautiful cycle back to the downside. Not necessarily a pattern, but something that we were watching very actively in the room. Once we started rotating off of the lows, the bulls, I mean, this is one of those scenarios where there's just not really a chance. The bulls had a huge cycle to the upside, massive rally, but it was off of a full-blown reversal. I mean, it just V-bottomed right out of there. Whenever we have that type of scenario, it's difficult to find any type of way in that doesn't require a huge amount of risk until we finally get a bit more structure. And by the time we actually had a bit more structure, the market stopped following through and rolled through the lows. So the bulls gave up, shot back in the opposite direction, and now we have a bounce 3 for a 1R. That's not right. A 2R to the downside. I mean, unbelievable how respected that move down was, especially considering the bulls were trying to get a move going to the upside. Ridiculous, but total failure. Ran out of steam, rolled right back over through settlement, now we're grinding back down again. That was the only opportunity from a pattern perspective that set up today. You'll notice I didn't actually take anything there. We called it an early day and rolled into lunchtime a bit early to celebrate a Good Friday. But, all things considered, there was a lot of really, really nice back and forth action on the NASDAQ, and it's just kind of more a matter of seeing what the afternoon wants to do as we continue further forward. I mean, the larger perspective is saying that it should keep going down, and, well, I have every reason to believe that. So the S&P zooming out a little bit further here to see what's going on. They had an attempted rally up yesterday and that got obliterated to the downside. The overall cycle yesterday, I guess if we gauge from the low to the high, POC's got to be in the middle, right? Around 44. Oh, whoa. Okay. So huge volume node at the 4570s. The market rolling it down. That's crazy. Okay. Well, I mean, they've gone through every target they've had then on the way down. I thought for sure the POC would be down there. That's crazy. Heavy cycling to the downside. Let's start from the top all the way down and see who got ran over. 45.60, buyers trying to buy the dip, got ran over all the way down to 44.72, and it still didn't stop. New low, probably shifted there, right? Not enough. We go down to another new low, and surely it shifted by then. Yeah. So as far as the upside is concerned, the bulls have cycled off of their scalpers' objectives. As far as the downside is concerned, in the more recent term, we have cycled off of their objectives. In the way bigger term, not even close, right? That's the one that's way down into the floor. We'll kind of wait and see what they want to do in terms of getting there, but it doesn't look so great from the bulls' perspective. All the wicks on the top, they've got a lot of issues here. NASDAQ's grinding its way down as well. See how the S&P wants to play ball, but right now the bulls cycled it all the way up to a high, and as soon as they got the high, it rolled all the way down again. Spike in channel. Not the happiest looking one in the world, but it's there. See what sellers are able to do here. The S&P bears have a very, very nice zone of resistance that they're trying to build up and look for a continuation phase down. The actual pocket itself is resting a bit further up around 444. NASDAQ is attempting to get the rotation one way or another. What a mess on this move here for the NASDAQ. Sellers are trying to get control, but it's getting jumbled up pretty badly in here. Descending wedge isn't going to help anybody. See if the bulls want to cycle this higher, what they want to do, but at the moment, they're getting a bit stuck. S&P sellers are going to be looking for some slightly better prices if they can get a hold of them. Previous areas of resistance on the way up. I mean, they're all over the place. Every single one of these wicks is technically a zone of resistance. There's a lot. NASDAQ's got some halfway decent pressure to the downside, trying to press in. S&P sellers may try to follow through with that. They've got 2.5 minutes left on the bar. Super far down to be selling, but they're not leaving many other choices. Sellers starting to show up to the party a little bit. There's almost no speed at all. Very, very slow. Nice Nice little pulse back to the upside on the NASDAQ, trying to get a rotation back down. So far, they've been having a little bit of a hard time. S&P starting to cycle back up as well. Got a minute 20 left. Not quite up to the area of resistance, and in fact, we're actually bouncing off support, so it makes it a bit tough to want to sell without at least getting a test. Sellers are obviously selling, burying themselves into the previous wicks on the S&P. The NASDAQ wedge top is acting as resistance and attempting to try to tilt the market back down. Sellers are starting to gain momentum again. The NASDAQ's not getting that buy to flip. A little bit of a jump up into like the 645s wouldn't hurt my feelings on the NASDAQ. There's that little jump to the upside. Sellers have some better prices to try to work with now here. Downside objective would be a really nice little pulse down through the... Well, I mean, we're coming off the wedge highs, down through the 38, right there, boom. Nice little pulse off the top. Gorgeous retest. Just needed a bit of a better price. Nice little pop into that NASDAQ for a continuation phase down, though. Little bit jumpy. You can see it was the bulls just getting trapped above the high. Whoops. Let's see if they can slide this thing back down again. Sellers offering up a nice little scalp on the NASDAQ, though. NASDAQ's trying to break away. If the sellers were greedy and tried going for more than just the scalp, they're starting to get run over a bit. S&P is just a sideways mess right now. Predominantly all of the resistance up in the highs here in the 35, but I'd like to see them try to challenge the top of the wedge or somewhere up above 40 half. Nice little pulse point here for the S&P to try to find its way back down for a scalp. $41. Look for 40. Trying to grab an extra. We've got a ton of volatility on the NASDAQ creeping up towards the resistance zone here. Nice test. They've got 3.5 minutes left. We're pushing into the major zone of resistance, looking for a cycle back down. NASDAQ's getting a nice breakaway move on those shorts. Getting ran over here. Retesting back up into resistance. See if I can add one more. I'm not getting a fill though. Couldn't get a fill on the S&P. Fine. If they want to catch a quick snap back down, there we go. Really? Okay. I was gonna say, can I please? 2.5 minutes left on the bar. Primary cycle point for the first objective, second objective, and if this can get a breakaway move down towards the lows. Actual risk's a little bit lower. That would be 3, and the first entry point was 41 to 40. There we go. Okay. Looking for the S&P to find its continuation phase back to the downside off of this pulse up. I'm looking at this move up as a false rally. There we go. The bottom of this bull bar is going to be a tough time if they work their way back down there. I'm going to have to go ahead of that to play it safe. Looking at the volume structure on the move down, just so we can see what the buyers have been up to. They've got their balance point back down at the lows. And closing the rest of it off the highs, it's still down at the lows. They can really start breaking away to the downside. They may have some juice to try to run down to that previous volume node ahead of the weekend. Was that 2550? Let's see. NASDAQ sellers are trying to push back down. The S&P's got that big bull bar, which is going to be one of two things. Either a feisty trap for an attempted continuation up, back up towards settlement, which is what they've been just kind of dinking around with all day. Or we get the sell side continuation from the larger perspective. The larger perspective on the S&P is suggesting that we have downside momentum that could be going on for quite a while, with primary objectives down to 43.37. Nice pulse for the first area. We've got the secondary objective down a little bit further if they can get it going. This last one's the wild card. I want to see how far they're able to go, but again, the bottom of this bull bar could cause some issues. Four minutes left on the candle. Alright, ES, come on. If they can get back through this, because right now this is support. They got to get through this. If they can get through here, we'll be okay. Come on, ES. You still have 3 minutes to go. You could turn this thing into a twin reversal. Just cycle this bad boy right back down. Area of concern right now is going to be like 33.75. It's a really, really tough spot. There we go. Nice little push through. A lot of pressure. Come on, Bears. Sink this thing into the floor. 2.5 minutes left. Sellers are trying to get a continuation phase down. They're having a hard time here. This is all support. Come on, push! I don't want to take the last one off. It's right here. Let's go. There we go. Yep. 2 minutes 20 left. What a fist fight here. Nice. Keep going. Still got 2 minutes left, ES. You can do it. Ooh, they're trying. I don't want to jump ship early, but I got to see him show up to the party. There we go. Nice flush. Keep going. The bottom of this bull bar is going to be the challenge. We've got a minute and a half left. Beautiful cycle down. NASDAQ's coming down to the previous POC as well. A lot of support down here. So far, the sellers have been punching through everything. Ooh, yeah. Bottom of the bull bar. Bottom of the bull bar stopped that thing in its tracks. All right, I'm going to back out of it. Beautiful run back down, but I couldn't get it to follow through and punch the base of that, and we're seeing too much support coming in. This is a nasty spot that I don't really want to fight over. Of course, now that I'm out, now they've got their chance to try to shove back down again, but absolutely gorgeous rejection on the S&P. They played around a little bit at the beginning there, but nice cycle. Back down to the low of the bull bar. Now the sellers can try to follow through. The next volume node's down at 24.75 if they can get it going. I can't believe the NASDAQ just cycled all the way back down again. Like, nah, we're not going up. Beautiful rejection on the S&P. What else you got? That's a good way to go into the weekend, huh? Nice. Sellers with a heavy bear bar trying to get going lower. There's still a ton of support down here, but a nice twin reversal to possibly get things going. You can see the shelf down here. Very challenging, but if they can break through, well, they might have something to it. S&P sellers trying to drive a bit further down. What? Twin reversal straight out of the textbooks. Jeez. NASDAQ sellers are also creeping the market back down again. Nice little slides. Sellers have a really good shot. Fantastic bear bar to keep things going. Almost through the lows. Speed picking up a little bit. Sell volume coming in. And there it goes. Whoa, big blow off. And here I was looking for the bottom on the bottom bull bar on the S&P. How about a double breakdown through the lows? Jeez. We are down to that volume node, down in the 24s. That's a big spot. Sellers are putting up a very nice fight to the downside. What? Thanks, ads. Appreciate it. It sounded like Sim City music. I'm having flashbacks here. Bears working their way down to a new low. We do have a twin reversal up on the S&P, which would suggest downside targets can span For a full deviation of the bear bar at the very least, or from the bear bar's top to the bull bar low, that is looking at, well, targets that expand as low as 21 down to 1650. Wide open door for shorts to try to pressure. NASDAQ cycling back through the POC on the more recent pulse. Now on this drive lower. Dominant volume still at the top. I'll make this a little smaller here. POC getting buried down at the lows, 14,600. Sellers screaming lower. Wow, what a move. The larger picture here is just crazy. This thing is just nuts. We'll have to see where they close out. I mean, they've still got a couple hours, technically speaking, till the end of the day. But, man. $14,591 on the S&P, finding some resistance and cycling lower. Wow, what a bear bar. Holy cow. S&P doubling down on a huge bear bar now. Following up and confirming. Well, I wasn't thinking that they were going to follow through that bar. That's crazy. Very nice move down. Candle gapping currently, well, I mean, the candle gap's not technically finished yet, but if they close the current candle down here, we've got downside candle gap targets that are all the way down to 44.01 half. That's a wide open door on the S&P to keep sliding. Now I feel like an idiot for getting out at the bottom of the bull bar. What? Wait a minute. Held on for a run, got out, and it kept running. Market seems to be stalling out here a little bit. NASDAQ's building a huge amount of volume down here. Likely sellers taking profit, which would make sense. A little bit of a rejection off the POC once again. If those were longs buying into the POC down there on the NASDAQ, that might have been them jumping ship at break even too, but this extra POC move back down just looks like they re-upped again. Oh, back up again. Oh, a little bit of a fight. Jumpy POC. $130 around the corner. Had a beautiful trade on the S&P and one on the NASDAQ for a quick little pulse down too. Certainly can't be upset with the way today's working out. Now it's just a matter of seeing what else the day wants to do before we go into the weekend. Feel free to get those questions in. We'll probably wrap it up today a little bit early as well. More buying volume stepping up to the plate. As far as the news is concerned, financial juice, what's up? Anything left? Not really. No, the last news announcement is at 1300. That was the U.S. Baker Hughes oil rig count. It did come out at 491, And the total rig count came out at 604, but for those of you who care, at least. Aside from that, we don't really have any other news. Sellers looking to see if they can follow this through. A lot of those sellers taking profit underneath the lows. Heavily bottom-weighted POC down there. Zooming out and looking at some of the other markets outside of the NASDAQ and the S&P. The Dow seems like it's riding the struggle bus a little bit. A ton of wicks down here, and every time it pushes down into the low 34s, 34,300s, 320s or so, it bounces right back up again. Very bouncy down here. If they can work through, though, then there's... Yikes, there's no support until 34,140. Nice little negative half DP, but if that breaks down, the -1 is a very nice zone to support. You know what would look really nice on the NASDAQ going into the weekend? Would be this sideways action. See it trap the lows and go reversing back up into next week. Bitcoin's getting shot through the floor right now. It still needs to go deeper, it seems. NASDAQ rotating around a little bit. POC balanced at around 600s, but it is bouncy. Super, super weak bull bar back up again. That's not going to prove anything. I would love to see if they can climb to the top of that bull bar for sellers to pressure back down again. If the NASDAQ sellers are going to try to take it lower, I mean, this would be the spot, but we've got to ask ourselves, what's the risk tolerance here? S&P starting to pressure back up. Seeing a big lift in volume here. Speed increasing as well. I'm going to hold off the short side. Things are shifting gears a little bit with this big jump in speed and everything else. Might just be a false rally again, but we've got to pay attention to the warning signs and also take note that it's Friday. I don't want to trash a good day in a good week. Getting greedy on a Friday. No thanks. A lot of pressure. Sellers are trying to roll back down. S&P sellers are trying to fade the top of this to make it so that the bulls have a false attempt. They haven't even been able to get back inside that last bull bar. The S&P might not set up in a nice way. How's the NASDAQ looking? Geez, the NASDAQ's just dumping straight back down again. The wider POC, the market's still underneath. Sellers on the NASDAQ are going to be looking for a continuation phase back to the downside if they're able to get it. Downside objectives going to be down... I mean, really, it should be able to pulse down through the lows if the sellers are going to take this move. A little bit of back and forth, no real speed, just kind of pausing a little bit, holding on, not doing much. Quick little snap, nice little pop higher here. Tried hitting the ask, but I didn't get a fill on that one. Okay. There we go. Nice continuation phase up into the zone of interest. And if they want to pulse up into the upper like 17s, 18s, that's where sellers are going to pressure even harder. Jeez, oh Pete. Downside objective on a pulse is going to be a little bit lower to the 99s. Nice cycle back up. There it is. First objective would be off there. Second target would be down through the lows if they're able to run the base. See if they want to play ball with this scalp down here. Sellers scalp out of the initial drive, now trying to get the secondary drive. On the more recent swing, we've got the POC underneath us now at 600. Come on, sellers, you can do it. Starting to run out of steam. I'm out. Nope. Just kidding. Guess not. I wanted to give them a shot. I thought they could get it going, but not today. Bah humbug. Fine. All right, well, I'm going to take that as a clue from the market and just say, you know what? I'm just going to say good enough. We've got 134, a little bit earlier on a Friday, but a phenomenal rejection on the S&P. That was an incredible pop off the top there. And the NASDAQ, well, they tried to get some juice to the downside. Started off earlier in the session with a nice little push. Second push didn't really get any success. Now that I'm out, of course, it'll drop a bajillion ticks, but I tried getting it going, and it didn't want to follow through, so that'll do it. Like we always say, going into the weekend, aside from the fact that if I miss any questions, you can get a hold of me, and we'll get those covered for you, but make sure to take a break, right? Get away from the markets going over the weekend and, you know, spend that time resting and refreshing so you're ready to come back on Monday ready to rock and roll. Of course, if you are looking to fill some of your time, what better way than studying the markets with the Day Trading Academy, self-plug hashtag. It's got about 19 or 20 hours of course material, video course material for you if you're looking to to learn the markets and what they are doing and why they're doing it. All of that info is there, and it's a great way to fill in a weekend. Of course, along the way, if you do have any questions, you know where to get a hold of me, but have a fantastic weekend. Rest up. I hope you had an amazing week of trading, and we will see you all back on Monday, all right? We'll talk to y'all later. Thanks.